my friends, I'm Rick. Got a little Missy sitting over here by me. And sorry it's been a minute. Uh, Work. I'm just going to say it. I had almost 60 hours last week, 5 days. And this coming week going to be almost as bad. Just tired. Really, really tired. So, Planet X, Planet 9, this has been going, hypothetically been talked about for as long as as long as I can remember, since I was a kid. Uh, Recent years, there's been a lot of okay, we found in discoveries. Although there's no 100% concrete, we absolutely guarantee we know it's here, it's there, we can see it. No, what they have is a bunch of mathematicians and astronomers have been paying attention to how things move around in the outer limits of of the or the solar system. You know, the Oort cloud is the outermost layer, and the Kuiper belt. That's the extreme edge of the accepted boundaries of our solar system. That they hypothesized and then calculated via math should have existed a long time ago, was only recently proven in the last few 20 30 years that there is a Kuiper belt, there are objects out there, and a lot of their behavior is being affected by other gravitational forces than what is considered conventional and acceptable for the way our solar system works. And so this implies that there is at least one or maybe more planet-sized bodies that are out beyond the Pluto orbit that is affecting, has some effect on comets and other stuff. The Goes also hand in hand with the mythology behind the Anunnaki, because the Nibiru is supposedly the homeworld of the Anunnaki, and they are the ones that are reportedly came to Earth looking for gold and made the modern humans out of Neanderthals, or however you want to look at that, how that story goes. In part, my discussion or my ramble today is about that particular thing in some aspects, but I wanted to touch on the fact that scientifically speaking, we're quite, the scientific community is quite confident that there are planets that exist in the outer extreme edges of our solar system. There's even some fields of thought that stipulate that we may actually be part of a binary system, and that there is another sun out there, we just can't see it. And that would imply that it is a dwarf sun of some sort, being a brown dwarf most likely. I'm hearing a mower. I wonder who's mowing. Idiot across the street hardly ever mows. And Junior's supposed to have me mow next door, so I'm hoping it ain't him. Yeah, that's what I get for being nosy. I can't see who it is. Kind of bothers me a little bit. I hate to admit that. Okay, I know who's doing it. They're mowing the Union Hall Park. The Union Hall. That's fine. Well, the reason I say that is because the property next door is owned by the guy that owns the strip club, and he sent me a text earlier last week asking if it was going to be up to mowing this year, and I said, hell yeah, just let me know when. And he might change his mind, and he pays me $100 every time we mow it, and that's extra money we need. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that we put that to good use. Yeah, so I kind of want that. I got my rider running, so I know it's good to go for now. The day the rider cuts out and I can't fix it or can't afford to get it fixed, that'll be the day we won't be mowing for him anymore, I'm going to guess. So anyway, the scientific leanings are that there are physical bodies out there that are affecting the gravitational pull of the extreme edges of the solar system, which on occasion causes some of these asteroids and comets and what have you to be flung inwards at the inner, where Earth is, our Earth orbital plane, and occasionally causing near misses and or worse. So the hypothesis with the Anunnakis is that their home world is out there, and that they're not actually an extraterrestrial force, so to speak. They're not actually traveling faster than light from someplace else. So they're coming from extreme distances within our own solar system, which means they found some technological ability to do that. And of course, I did a video already on the absurd idea that their whole reason for coming to Earth was for gold, when we damn well now know that the asteroid belt alone has got more than sufficient quantities of gold that you would never need to worry about it. It would totally devalue the quality of the value of gold on Earth, if we had direct access to it. So they have absolutely no need. They have the technology to come to Earth and do the stuff that the mythology says they did. Well, so the same thing as my question comes back with how does this Nibiru work? We look at the map and it shows our sun, and then the inner habitable zone, and the zone that we occupy, and then the outer edges and the extreme outer edges of it. But the Nibiru's story goes that their planet is so far out, and it runs on a different orbital path, which is also part of the argument of whether or not it would be part of a binary system. So this Nibiru would actually be affected by this other sun, ideally a brown dwarf. So what little I know about sun qualities and luminosity and things like this tells me that a brown dwarf is a brown for a reason. It does not produce a whole hell of a lot of heat and light. More importantly, the light part, because we can have a heat source next to Earth, but it's not going to do a whole lot of good for considering how much of our plant life and assorted other life that depend on the plant life that depends on sunlight hitting them on a regular basis, as opposed to, say, I don't know, fungus that grew up in the dark or in the twilight areas where sunlight isn't as big isn't as big access. So either way, Nibiru would be so far out there and so far away from any sun, any appreciable heat source, it couldn't possibly be like an Earth-like planet in any way whatsoever. Now you have to get into some really long-reaching grasps to make arguments like, well, it's a hollow world scenario. Their life grew up inside the planet. Okay, so that's possible. We know here on Earth that life is extremely tenacious, and it surprises people. Every so many decades, some new location will be observed where they just absolutely was guaranteed positive that life could not exist in this extreme environment, and bang, it does. The extreme depths of the ocean, the extreme coldest parts of the planet still has life in them. Some of it's dormant and some of it's active, and it's still life. They found microbial evidence of microbial colonies on the inside of the walls of nuclear power reactors, in an environment that utterly annihilates 95% of life. In general, these things manage to thrive in that environment. Would that equate to having something that evolves into an intelligent enough species to create spaceflight and genetic manipulation so they can alter an entire projection of the human race, etc., etc.? I don't know. But I find it highly questionable that their world would be any sort of, short of an ice ball. I've done a number of over the last year or two deep dives into researching on this as best I could, trying to find out if there's any other examples of such extremely habitable Earth-like planets, sans the solar, the light from the sun, and I ain't had a whole lot of luck in that. Outside of it's just pure straight science fiction. So, is it possible? Like I said, scientifically, I agree. Yeah, 100% agree that there are larger than Pluto-sized bodies further out from the sun. Maybe some of them are much closer to us than we know, and we just have yet to spot them in the closer ranges of the solar system for a number of reasons. Space is vast, but ironically, it's still, a chaotic mess, and you can still lose things. Things block other things. So there's been that hypothesis for many, many years that if there was another Earth-like planet, it would be orbiting the Earth or the Sun directly on the same orbital path that Earth takes. Then, thus, we would never see each other. The twin Earth theory or one of the twin Earth theories, that we'd never see each other because the Sun dominates our entire universe when it comes to that sort of thing. It wasn't until the 50s or whatever when they started putting satellites further and further out that they could actually see around the curvatures and stuff, and that they're now pretty confident that there aren't any hidden terrestrial planets in our solar system. At least they're pretty confident, because they're still not 100% sure, right? There could be some weird space phenomenon going on out there, like some dark matter veil that refracts light in such a way that we can't see the damn planet, and it's five fucking planetary AUs away from us. So I mean, you should be able to see it in the sky, but we can't. Now you're reaching for some really extreme sci-fi stuff, and So, what do you think about that? I mean, sure, an extremely ancient and advanced species could absolutely have colonized, an ice ball in the middle of nowhere, so far from the nearest light source that just looks like another prick of light in the sky. Sure, why would you want to? I don't know, but you could. And if you have sufficiently high technology, then the environment that the planet presents you matters little to you whatsoever. Now, if you're talking an entire ancient civilization that was born, grew up, and died, generation after generation, on a world that has no direct sunlight to keep it warm and to, encourage healthy plant life as we know it, then you have to start looking really at radical alternates to that. So, the planet is frozen, and that somehow they're surviving inside. I mean, all of the Andorians from Star Trek, I mean, that kind of thing, which is possible. It's one of the things they didn't talk about in the Star Trek universe, not very well, and I've had a lot of forays into that stuff in the game side of it anyway. When it came to like the other races that joined and formed the United Federation of Planets, we don't have a really in-depth, deep bio on those founding, fathers of the Federation. Well, we know through the TV series Enterprise, we now know far more about the Andorians than we ever knew before, but we still don't know how big was their population on their home world. How many millions or how many billions, how many settled systems do they have under their control before they joined the Federation? And was it 3? Was it 50? We don't know. We see a couple of warships and a couple of battles on the TV screen, but that doesn't give us any measure to weigh anything against. And then and aside from the Vulcans, we know almost absolutely nothing about the Terralites. I mean, we know a little bit, but not that much, because they're just not that interesting as a character study, apparently. Right? And then there was the Centaurans. Supposedly Alpha Centauri was a signer. Well, depending on whose lore you go by, the Beta Canon lore says that Alpha Centauri is the first breakaway colony of humans from old Earth. So they were an independent human nation that joined the Federation, as opposed to a completely different species, which then in some other canons of Star Trek imply that that's exactly what they are, that they're actually an alien race, not human beings at all. They just have near human appearance, kind of thing. I don't know. So, could the Anunnaki have a viable planet that far out away from the sun? There's no indication. The amount of technology would be required would be staggering. I mean, to really make it a greenhouse world that's self-contained. But it's not impossible, right? There's another thing that just came to mind that may be not appropriate for this particular video, but I recently, if you ever watched the WTF files, I think it's the WTF files. I've been watching this. I found this stuff back in the late fall, so I've been watching a lot of his videos over YouTube when I'm out working. And he's a damn good show. I mean, a damn good YouTube podcast, and kudos to the guy. I mean, one of his recent ones, he was talking about how is it ironic, or isn't it interesting how zero point energy sources seem to go missing or dry up. And what they meant by that is there was a whole lot of people who played around with other forms of energy creation that were successful, actually showed working models working, and then they just disappeared. They either had accidents or they commit suicide. All their work, nobody ever talks about them again. They just disappear, right? So the point I'm getting at is off the conspiracy, but if you have this means, like Tesla, for example, if Tesla was right and you can tap into the core energy of the cosmos, of the universe, this 0 point energy, for example, these 0 point energy machines where they just seemingly pull energy out of nothing, what if that's because they're pulling out of an ether or out of a dimension that we just don't register to ourselves? Or they just literally found a way to tap into the latent energy that's in everything. The force, my friends, the force, right? What could you not do if power was unlimited and free? And I use the term free loosely because there's no such thing as a free lunch. Technology requires upkeep and replacement and advancements and so on and so forth. So does growth. So that would mean that even the most advanced alien society would have to still be able to replicate the crap they need and have the resources to replicate to feed that replicate. Basic math, basic facts of truth, law of supply and demand. You just don't, unless they come up with a way to manufacture matter out of nothing and give it permanence. Well, now you're on the God scale of things, and then we're completely in a different world and different philosophy of things. Different argument. You have to wonder. I have issues with the Anunnaki story on a lot of levels. I like the story, and there's a lot of things in there that make me go, right? And anytime it makes you do this, and you think about it, it's opening windows for other exploration into other things, which is part of the fun of this. You want to be an amateur, amateur whatever, try to make an effort to have at least a little bit of knowledge on something, so you don't sound like a total buffoon. There's a lot of that going on, and it doesn't take much for it to generate down into that. But so, like I said, we look at this Nibiru and the planet, the possibilities. I have absolutely no doubt that there are other planets further out. And then there's even the real possibility of a binary system, that we have a sister sun out there that's just so tiny or so old or so broken that it doesn't fully function anymore. We can't physically see it, and it's just so far away, and it almost defies the convention of what makes the system. But yeah, I believe that there's possibilities there. I don't believe the possibility of a highly more advanced race of people other than us living in a planet out there without any direct sunlight, without having some kind of orbital technology to create that sunlight, which then would in and of itself would be detectable by Earth on our worst days. No, I find issues with all that. Maybe at one time that the Anunnaki civilization was out there. Or you make that argument, well, every 30,000 years it gets close enough to the sun. So it has a lifespan, it has a lifespan of what, 29.99 thousand years? So there's a 10-year window or 8-year window there for out of every 30,000 years it gets close enough to to the solar heat of the sun to warm up, thaw out, and have this plant life boom and then die again? Sure. Why not? The cosmos is a weird place. There's a lot of things out there that defy explanation. Things that we have yet to find and to understand so we can explain. Right? Anyway, just give it some thought. Keep in mind. And we talk about this thing, there's a little bit of logic involved, and it doesn't take very long for the story to go south. But there's still always elements of the story that can never go south. You know, it's just like that 0 point energy thing. Every so many years, somebody comes up with something that can run off of water or vapor or something else. It makes a small splash in the news, and we never hear from it again. Till next time, I'm Rick. It's a little missy over there. Have yourself a great week.
It just irritates me to no end.